Imagine a promise as bold as anything coming out of modern Silicon Valley. The claim that with enough data and rational education, human happiness can be perfectly aligned and engineered. In 1863, the radical thinker Nikolai Chernyshevsky made this the centerpiece of his novel, What Is to Be Done? The book became a manifesto for a generation of Russian intellectuals, including a young Vladimir Lenin, who credited the work with shaping his political path. Chernyshevsky argued that humans are inherently rational creatures. He believed that once people are taught where their true interests lie, they will inevitably act to maximize their own benefit, leaving no room for destructive behavior. This logic found its physical form in the Crystal Palace, the massive iron and glass structure built for London's 1851 Great Exhibition. To the radicals, this transparent, orderly building was a preview of a future built by science, where everything was visible, predictable, and harmonious. In 1864, Fyodor Dostoevsky was living a very different reality. He was bankrupt, grieving the death of his brother, and sitting by his dying wife's bedside. From this room of sickness and debt, he listened to these theories of a frictionless, calculated future with growing horror. He struck back with notes from underground. His narrator is a 40-year-old former civil servant who has retreated into a dark, squalid St. Petersburg basement. This man is the antithesis of the rational utopian. He is sick, he is spiteful, and determined to be difficult. The underground man looks at the mathematically perfect Crystal Palace and identifies one fatal flaw. He hates it because it leaves him no room to stick out his tongue. It's a childish, unprofitable gesture, but that is Dostoevsky's point. He argues that people will purposefully sabotage a perfect system just to prove they are individuals with a will, rather than predictable cogs in a social machine. The utopian worldview relies on the equation 2 + 2 = 4. It suggests that human life is a series of predictable results, and that science will eventually account for every choice we make. The underground man fears this mathematical certainty. If our behavior follows natural laws as strictly as the orbits of the planets, then we are nothing more than piano keys. We don't act, we are simply played by the universe. To break this mechanical trap, the underground man screams for a different result. 2 + 2 = 5. He knows he's wrong. He knows he is hurting himself by rejecting reality, but he insists on the error, because it is the only way to prove he has agency in a world that tries to calculate him out of existence. When doing the correct thing is a mathematical certainty, choosing the wrong thing, even if it causes you pain, becomes the only way to verify that you are actually free. Dostoevsky moves the debate from math to human relationships. The underground man follows his former classmates to a brothel, where he meets a young prostitute named Liza. He delivers a long, dramatic speech to her about the warmth of family life and the tragedy of her inevitable decay and death. He isn't trying to help her. He is reciting lines from books just to see if he can dominate her emotions and feel powerful for once. The plan backfires when Liza breaks down in genuine tears. She believes his empathy is real and offers him her trust, dropping the defenses she uses to survive. A few days later, Liza visits his wretched basement room. The underground man panics. He realizes that the heroic, noble figure he pretended to be in the brothel is being crushed by the squalid, pathetic reality of his actual life. He reacts with cruelty. He tells her he was only mocking her, that his speech was a lie. Then he collapses, sobbing that he is incapable of being good because of the world that shaped him. Instead of recoiling, Liza embraces him. She recognizes his misery and offers him genuine love, an act of grace that doesn't follow any rational or self-interested script. He cannot handle being seen as someone who needs help. To regain control, he thrusts a 5-ruble note into her hand, treating her like a transaction again, and drives her away. He chooses a life of agonizing, isolated autonomy over the vulnerability of being loved. To accept her help would mean admitting his own helplessness, a surrender his pride simply won't allow. The tragedy of the story is that the underground man wins his argument. He proves he isn't Okeanoki, but he destroys his only chance at happiness to do it. This shifted the focus of literature. Instead of following heroes, readers began exploring the internal contradictions of characters who are their own worst enemies. Jean-Paul Sartre saw the roots of his own philosophy here. He recognized that the underground man represents the condemnation of freedom, the idea that humans have no fixed nature or rational scripts to follow, and are entirely responsible for their own miserable choices. Albert Camus found a precursor to his absurd in these pages. Like the underground man, Camus explored the friction between our need for meaning and a universe that offers only cold mathematical facts, like 2 + 2 = 4. Franz Kafka's work mirrored the underground man's isolation. His characters are often trapped in rooms or bureaucracies that mirror the narrator's basement, spaces where the mind turns in on itself, unable to connect with a world that makes no sense. Dostoevsky presents freedom as a weight. It is a terrifying responsibility that many people would gladly trade for the predictable comfort of a glass palace. Notes from Underground concludes with its narrator still trapped in the dark. But 2 years later, Dostoevsky would put another character through this exact same test in Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov also meets a prostitute who offers him unearned grace. But unlike the underground man, Raskolnikov eventually takes her hand. He chooses to accept the suffering that comes with his redemption.
A moment of wonder. Dostoevsky suggests that being human requires the messy, difficult decision to leave the basement behind and walk toward the light.